So hello there, good evening ladies and gentlemen. You're of course watching the Watkins Racing YouTube channel, and tonight we're bringing you something very special. It's race 6 of our American tour in the RRTCC, and we are of course at Watkins Glen for this season's finale. For those of you that have caught the publications on our social media, you'll see that this is going to be a pretty hot contest for the championship. We have of course got 4 drivers in the running that can all have a chance of being crowned the championship in tonight's race. Currently on board with us in a practice session. You can see there 19 minutes or so of this left, so we'll be flicking through some of our drivers, trying to get a lay of the land on who's setting the quickest times for today's race. Of course, one sprint and one feature will define who will be crowned champion. Demobi, our previous season 1 champion, looking to get back-to-back wins with a brace of victories tonight, but even if he doesn't finish on the top of the podium in both of the races, he can still be crowned. So I'm going to let you settle into the action for now, and a little bit further into this session I'll give you a rundown of our championship points. If you haven't done already, hit that like and subscribe button just to the bottom of your screen, and if you don't follow us yet on our Instagram or Twitter, look up Watkins Racing. Inside there you'll notice our logo, and from there on you'll be able to keep in touch with all of the latest action and the broadcasts that are going to be going out. And from now on I will be posting up all of the standings after each of the races to keep you in line with all of our races that are broadcast and our races that aren't broadcast just yet either. Looks as though our stream's running a little bit better. Apologies for any of those that joined us on Sunday. It looked to be just a bad internet day as everybody was enjoying their bank holiday weekends. But we're up and running smoothly. Brought to you in 1080, and hopefully we'll have a jitter-free evening. If you are tuning in for the first time, let us know where you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd also like to know your predictions for tonight's race. I've of course got our 11 drivers showing up there. The one that you need to discount is the one that's currently sat in 11th. I am your commentator, I am Murphy, and I'll be bringing you all of the action for this evening. Just over 15 minutes remaining in this practice session. Let's have a little bit of a rundown through the championship standings as they are before tonight's racing. We've currently got a tie for the championship lead between Demobi and Lightblade. Those two guys both on 272 after what was an incredible race last week at Long Beach. A little bit further down the line on 269 points we've got Stealth Sheep, so he's in a close third. Next up down the running order is Thorsten Schmidt on 248 points. We had a little bit of news earlier on in the week that this is likely to be Thorsten Schmidt's final season in the RRTCC. Not looking to renew on Tuesdays next season, but he definitely came in with a bang after entering Watkins Racing. And he will definitely be sorely missed from the championship. Next in the running, in 5th place in the championship, we've got that guitar dude on 179 points. So he is basically the first of our drivers that isn't in the running for the championship title, but he will be looking to finish strongly and be the best of the rest, as it was. So that gets added on 179 points. Next down the running order in 6th place is Lecky 2000 on 162 points. So here is the rest of the rest, as it was. If we run down the order, 7th place in the championship is Bobby Dazzler on 151. Then 8th place is Uni Clark on 148 points. Then we've got Evan in 9th place on 106 with It's PT on 105 and Lion's Foot on the bottom of the championship at the moment on 96 points. An old friend's just popped up of Rubbins Racing. Good evening, Islander Jim. Good to see you, mate. I hope you enjoy this stream. Like I say, ladies and gents, around about 15 minutes of this practice session, and then we're going to get stuck into our regular 10 minutes of qualification. These are our TCC guys, used to something a little bit different. We have 2 qualification sessions for you this evening, one for each of the sprint and feature races. Both of them a bit of a shootout, running lower times than usual, get those drivers out on track and make those laps count. By all means, if you're watching any of this action or if you're just tuning in for the first time and you wanted to see how this season unfolded, head onto our YouTube channel and hit under the Touring Car channel list, and you'll be able to catch in all of the action from Season 2 and all of the action from Season 1. Look how these drivers have progressed and how the action has changed from track to track. We do, of course, have all of the action from our GT3 Championship, as well as our GT5 Ginetta Championship, which runs on the Friday night. You'll be able to find all of the action right there on the Rubbins Racing YouTube channel, so hit that like and subscribe and make sure that you get notifications so you don't miss any of the action. If you haven't heard of us, we are a clean racing community, and we try and bring you this live action, especially as the rest of motorsport has been ground to a halt due to this crazy pandemic that the whole world is suffering with. So as you're staying safely inside your homes and you fancy joining us here, we've got a PlayStation 4 and Project Cars 2. Head over to www.rubbinsracing.co.uk. Hit the link where you can join. You'll be greeted by a member of our staff, introduced to the rest of the team. We'll put you through a brief evaluation, find out which sort of level you are, and then we'll guide you to being the best sim racing driver that you can be. Alternatively, if you like the action on here, we are a community-led organisation, and we do depend on donations from our membership and from outside of our members. So if you'd like to contribute towards what you're seeing today, all of our proceeds go back into the community, and go to that website that I mentioned before. You'll find a donate button on there, and every little helps, and we do appreciate it every single day. So just over 10 minutes remaining in this one. Currently Lightblade's the fastest one around, with Demobi in a close second. Thorsten Smith not too far away from that either, and Bobby Dazzler. All of these guys less than half a second away from each other, and I can imagine that some of them will be holding back. So track temperatures are quite low at the moment. That will play a big part to play. And just while we go through this practice session, I'm just going to have a look at the weather forecast for Watkins Glen for this evening. And let's see what we've got lined up. For those of you that caught the GT3 Championship, we were also at Watkins Glen on Sunday evening. Rain playing a huge part to play in our feature race. And it became very evident that puddles will form on this track. There's of course a road circuit that has been converted into a permanent racing track. So not quite designed in the way that some purpose-built circuits are for water runoffs. Well, any of you guys that have played Project Cars 2 and have explored some of the tracks in the wet, you know that even some of the purpose-made circuits don't fare much better than this converted road course. So looking through the weather forecast, it looks as though it is just going to be a cloudy day today. We're not expecting any rain, but we do know how unpredictable the weather can be, so don't quote me on it. This championship, much like one of our others in the Formula Renault, actually runs on a weather profile that's based upon the actual weather on the day at the race time for the location of the track. So Lecky, our lead coordinator, keeping an eye on that weather and trying to make it as accurate as possible as to what's been going down in New York State in Watkins, Glen this evening. This practice session continues on a little bit. Let me give you a bit of an insight into what the guys are doing out on track. We've got Thorsten Smith at the moment. He's our current lap leader in this practice. Current purple sector 2 is a 35.1, and we've actually got Demobi who's just gone purple in sector 3, and that time's just got off my board just as I was about to read it off. Apologies about that, but it wasn't enough to knock him off the top spot. See there though, getting much closer, just 17 tenths now away from the leader with light blade, 68 hundredths. So these gaps getting shorter and shorter as the guys get to grips with the track and the weather conditions. Track temperature hotting up a little bit now as the time progresses. 71 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is on quite a steep incline, so 72 degrees straight after me saying that. So by the time that we progress to our qualification session and the race tonight, I'm expecting that track temperature to rocket up a little bit. To give you some perspective, same sort of time of the year in these simulated settings. In the GT3 we were up to around about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and not so much inside the sprint race, but when it comes to the feature, which is our extended race of the evening, the tyre wear will definitely start to play a feature. So anybody that isn't familiar with our format in Robbins Racing, for all of our broadcast events we have two races, the first one being the sprint race, and the second one being the feature. Just need to confirm, but the sprint race within the touring cars starts off with a 10-lap race first time around, and then the feature race will be a lapped equivalent of whatever 30 minutes is. So within the sprint race, no pit stops required, whereas our feature race there is a mandatory pit stop. What these drivers choose to do within that pit stop is up to them. They can come straight in and get straight out again. They can do damage repairs, change the tyres if they want to. And it's not often that we see them refueling. These races not usually long enough to require a fuel stop. And of course it would just be extra added time that you're sat there doing nothing. Thorsten Smith looks as though he's continuing to beat his current time. He's just set the previous fastest lap, and it looks as though he's on for another hot one as well. He's got in there with a purple in sector 1. His sector 2 is pretty much on the pace as well. To see what his third sector does, let's go have a look at Thorsten Smith in that white and blue livery. Keep an eye out on car number 19 as he pushes through, as he pushes right into the pit. Terrible time to join him. Was on for a hot lap as well, but it looks as though he may well just be practicing his pit entry. That just shows the professionalism of the driver making sure that when it comes to that feature race he enters the pits without any pit penalties. So we'll continue following the action of Demobi now out on track as he tries to get himself into full flow. Just under 5 minutes remaining of this practice session, and then we'll be jumping straight into the qualifications. Good evening, Steiny. I can see you there on our stream at the moment, asking whether or not we have any iRacing leagues. Unfortunately not, my friend. We are strictly a PlayStation 4 and Project Cars 2 community at this moment in time. We don't plan on expanding that until the latest generation of consoles come out. However, quite a few of our guys do partake in iRacing and do partake in other games as well, so you can quite often find yourselves discussing within our general community chat different aspects of different sim games. At the end of the day, we're all just racing fans, including sim racing fans. So a lot of the guys now into the pits. It looks as though they might be just having a break before we start this qualification session. We jump back on board with the battered car of that guitar dude at the moment. He's definitely seen some action, that's for sure. Austin Smith's back out on track now. Set another purple sector in sector 1. Looks as though actually his last time out was purple. I'm not sure whether or not that is just old information from before he came into the pits. Let's jump on board with him. Hopefully he can't hear me. Our man from Berlin. Always fearful of mentioning their driver's name, giving them the commentator's curse. And it looks as though Thorsten Smith's having some right fun out there, letting the car get loose around her. He is out on a outlap at the moment, so he's warming up the tyres. Very calculated driver, Thorsten Smith. Always got his game face on. It's rare that we see him make a mistake. And it's very, very common for us to see him doing his best to overtake drivers and doing it well. Let's jump back trackside now so we can get a good view of the rest of the cars. It looks as though the car that you just saw in the rear, let's have a look whose that is. I think it might be, I thought it might have been its PT. It's not. It's PT, they're going a little bit quicker. It is, in fact, Uniclark. So looking at the lap times of this practice session, all drivers within 2 seconds of the leader. Definitely going to be a hotly contested one, this. Lionsfoot as well, currently sat at the bottom of the pack, but don't underestimate him. He actually picked up a fantastic podium on Friday in the Ginetta GT5. Also third round this track pretty well as well on Sunday within the GT3 Championship. Just finding his feet, making those adjustments to the car's setup, and we'll see how well he pushes. You see Uniclark there getting acquainted with that wall, getting a little bit sloppy at the bus stop. That's going to be the end of his session, I think, unless he takes it out just for a bit of a drive. So, whilst we're just coming to the end of this session, let me show you the cars that you need to look out for in terms of the championship running order. Car on screen at the moment is the number 19 of Thorsten Smith. As I mentioned earlier, he is currently third in the championship. Keep an eye out for him. Oh, I beg your pardon, he's fourth in the championship. Our current championship leader is the number 7 green-black Activision car of Demobi. Then in second place in the championship, we're looking at the blue and white Horbsner Automotive 62 car of Lightblade. And then third place in the championship, we're looking at the number 53 Cavoul black, white and red car of Stealth Sheep. They're the ones you want to keep an eye on, but I will be calling out the action as it happens. But Thorsten Smith, one up in the time that it doesn't count within free practice. Let's have a look at what happens within the qualification session. He's going to be first to pounce. It looks as though it's Thorsten Smith making his way out of the pits. I've definitely got cars in the background as well following him out. As I mentioned, 10 minutes. Not a lot of time for these guys to set down lap times. It looks as though Stealth Sheep and Evan are out of the pits, as the rest of the field as well also starts to go out. We'll keep on our trackside view of Thorsten Smith. He's going to be the first one to set his lap. Just going to want to get all of his temperatures up, brakes and tyres, get himself optimal. That's my telemetry board up and running. Just coming up to the final sector of this tricky circuit. And we'll start to see what these guys can put in as they push themselves to try and secure that podium in tonight's first race of the evening. Thorsten Smith's the first one to have a go at this. All drivers out now, except for Evan, who's just come back into the pits. Looks as though he's just come in potentially with a little bit of damage. Ladies and gents, full damage is active for this championship, so he may well have just got a little bit too close to one of those walls, come straight back in for some damage repairs and then straight back out again to make sure that he doesn't lose any time. So 1 minute 50.2 was the previous fastest in the session, I do believe. Looking down at the sector splits though, Stealth Sheep looks as though he's gone fastest in sector 1 so far with a 32.9. However, that's just been trumped by Lightblade on a 32.46. Thorsten Smith not too far away from that, around about half a second at the moment. Let's see what happens when the sector 2 comes in. Looked as though there was a little bit of a lock up there from the rear of the car from Thorsten Smith. As we see him encountering a little bit of traffic that's likely to be on their outlet. I think that may well be the black and yellow car, distinctive colours of Lecky. It is indeed inside the Momo livery. Can't imagine that Lecky will be holding him up at all, knowing the standard and driving method that Lecky adopts. He goes from 0 to 100 instantly in terms of effort and determination. But Thorsten Smith's the first one to set our lap times with a 150.9, and about 6/10 off his previous best. Stealth Sheep comes in second. It looks as though Stealth Sheep losing a little bit of time in sectors 1 and 2 to Thorsten Smith, but Lightblade coming right into first place with a 150.4 setting that benchmark. Demobi looks as though he didn't have the best first hot lap on that one. He's a few seconds off the pace. Perhaps just not finding full flow yet. But we'll keep on board. Well, in fact, we'll return back to Thorsten Smith at the moment. He's going to be the first to cross again, still following that black and yellow car of Lecky, who's going to be setting his first lap pretty soon. And now on the sectors, it looks as though Thorsten Smith, he's knocked some time off his previous sector one with a 32.5. That's pretty much equaling light blades this time around. And he has gone purple in sector 2 with a 35.16. It's going to be down to sector 3 for Thorsten Smith, but it's looking good so far. Lightblade's made a slight improvement in his previous sector 2 as well, so he's looking on good form as well. He's only about 15 tenths away from the purple sector. So a great looking round. We'll jump back down to Lightblade and see how his progresses. Do you believe that we're going to see Stealth Sheep's effort first? No? Or are we? No, I don't think we are. So let's see where Lightblade can get to. So Lightblade has actually been knocked down to third by that guitar dude. Fantastic lap from that guitar dude. Fair play to the lad there. He jumps straight back into the pits, potentially making a slight adjustment. May well be stripping all of the fuel out of that car to try and get one more bite of that cherry before our time runs out. 3.5 minutes remaining of this session. Let's have a look at Demobi. Demobi's gone much quicker. Remember, his first effort, he was around about 3.4 seconds, I think it was, off the pace. This time, he's only just shy of 4 tenths. Fourth place currently for our Bavarian driver. Let's have a look where Thorsten Smith is on track at the moment. Looks as though he's just coming into sector 3 for the time being. Just getting round the heel now. Approaching the final 2 corners. Looking at his split times, I don't think it's going to be an improvement unless he pulls something out through that sector 3. It's not going to be this time around. Let's have a look at Light Blades whilst that guitar dude continues to sit in the pits. Light Blade though, putting in pretty much matching Thorsten Smith by 1/10 on each of them. Gets very sloppy on the exit of the final turn though. That's going to punish him, especially if he's picked up some damage with 2 minutes of the session remaining. I don't think he's going to have enough time to get into the pits, get back out and be able to set one additional lap. So it looks as though he's just going to try and push it as we stand. Let's go on board with Demobi at the moment. He's also pretty much matching that guitar dude in terms of pace. A little bit slower in sector 3 the last time round, but he's a little bit slower on this current lap. Keeping an eye out on all of the splits. It looks as though its PT's having a bit of a blinder at the moment. I'd expect to see some improvement from him this next time around. As I beg your pardon, looking at Demobi's current lap, he's just gone purple in sector 1 with a 32.422. So he's around about 15 tenths off the previous purple. Keep you posted on his second sector, but it's PT. He's made a slight improvement in his time, not enough to get him outside of 7th place at the moment as we start to wrap this qualification session up. The sprint will follow, but 50 seconds for these lads to set their final times. Thorsten Smith's gone out for another one as well. He fancies just trying to improve on himself or potentially test out any adjustments that he's made to his setup before before he commits to them within the sprint race. So Demobi did go purple in Sector 1. He's also gone purple in Sector 2. Again, knocking around about 1/10 to 1.5 tenths off it. Let's see what he can do for his final sector. I'm expecting him to go top here. He does indeed. He's gone top with a 150.34. So only 18 hundredths difference between him and Thorsten Schmidt. Thorsten Schmidt on a lap at the moment. It does look as though he might well be on an outlap. I could be wrong, but those cold rear tyres suggest that that is the case. I don't think he's going to have time to improve. Let's have a look at Lightblade at the moment. Yeah, Lightblade also slightly improving on his lap. He is still on a hot one. He has gone slightly slower in Sector 1. Apologies if you can hear me, Lightblade. I don't mean to put you off, but slightly slower in Sector 1 compared to his previous splits. Stealth Sheep, he's also looking a little bit off the pace compared to what we saw him with earlier. He is making small improvements as we see Lightblade enter the pits. And now follow Stealth Sheep around as he starts to close up his Sector 3. Let's see whether or not he can get himself off that current 6th place. Only 3 remaining drivers out on track. I think one of them is on an outlap as well with Thorsten Schmidt, but I could be wrong, so let's keep an eye out on Stealth Sheep. Also in the running we've got Lecky, who's quite far off the pace as well. Stealth Sheep does improve on his time, but he doesn't improve on his position, and that is all that we've got in terms of this first sprint race qualification session. So topping out the order with a pretty late lap from Demobi. Really made it count though. Second place we've got Thorsten Schmidt joining him on the front row. Then it's PT and that guitar dude on second row. Lightblade and Stealth Sheep make up the third row. Bobby Dazzler and Uniclark on the fourth, with Lecky and Evan on fifth. And right behind them we've got Welshman Lionsfoot making up the 11th driver. So as I mentioned earlier, 10 laps for this sprint race, no mandatory pit stop. Looks as though our conditions are pretty steady with a little bit of cloud, but no rain to speak of. So no mandatory pit stop either. So hopefully these guys will make the setup. I'm only expecting them to come in should they get any pretty serious damage. It will mainly just be a case of stick it out till the end and make it count. And 2 minutes for these guys to get the fuel levels, radiator levels set to how they want it for race, and also maybe make some adjustments in terms of tyre pressure, get some longevity out of the tyres. But we'll be rating for lights out very shortly. And try something a little bit different for this one. Let's have a look on board on our second row. Let's try and see how these drivers get away from the line. Final words coming in from the drivers now, so most of them readied up and raring to go. Here we go, ladies and gents. Keep an eye out on the lights. Who's going to make it count? And there we go, we're off. It looked as though we've got a few warnings coming up from the race director. Hopefully none of those are false starts, because they will punish them as we see a few drivers getting together. It looks as though that was Lightblade coming together with Stealth Sheep, I believe it was. That guitar dude following them at the moment, but Thorsten Schmidt has got the jump on Demobi. Let's have a look at the action on the front. Managing to pull it away, and looks as though it's PT. also securing himself a third place spot at the moment as the two Germans battle it out on the way into the bus stop. Demobi quite clearly fuming that Thorsten's got the jump on him there and looking to try and get that first place back as soon as possible. A lot of respect between these two guys though, very equal in terms of their ability, and that ability is pretty high, let me assure you of that. But at the moment, both of them looking for that opportunity as all of our drivers look to have got away pretty cleanly. We can see looks as though Linesville is still at the back, but Lecky's joining him. Not much between those guys in terms of the split. In fact, all of the field within 4 seconds of each other from the start of this into lap 1. But Thorsten Smith and Demobi at the moment going bumper to bumper. Demobi just looking for that opportunity. Looking to see where he can get the drive of him. And this is a very prime place as we enter the final 2 corners of this first lap. So there, a few of the guys getting a little bit wild out the back, running pretty close to track limits. I'm sure there'll be a few slowdowns from that. Let's jump on to the chase between XPT and get a good view of what these two drivers are doing against each other. Looks as though there may well have been a little bit of contact there into the rear bumper of Thorsten Smith from Demobi. He backs off it to make sure that he isn't going to incur any penalties from that. Of course, these touring cars do come together quite easily, but luckily they don't damage each other that bad if it is just bumper to bumper. You see XPT now looking to gain, as we see Demobi look towards the inside, looking for that opportunity in case Thorsten Smith jumps wide. Thought we were going to go 3 wide into the bus stop there, but luckily avoided that one. XPT going to have a look around the outside here. He's just taunting Demobi a little bit, trying to make him second guess where he's going to put that car. Of course, all of our field inside the Renault Megane just so happens to be the only competitive car in this touring car class. It looks as though I just moved at the wrong place there as Lightblade makes a very bold dive into its PT. I think I saw a little bit of coming together, but he must have found a gap from somewhere. It looked as though it was clean. So Thorsten Smith now is opening up a bit of a gap. He's almost got a second on second place to Moby, with Lightblade in third, its PT in fourth, and Stealth Sheep, our man in third place in the championship, currently sat in fifth. Now that will have a significant part to play if he doesn't make an improvement on that and it finishes as it currently stands. Of course, we do have 7 full laps to go as they cross the line and enter lap 3 of this 10-lap race in our sprint at Watkins Glen. But it does look as though Thorsten's got the upper hand at the moment, maintaining that lead and looking to gain on it. And the gap back from Demobi towards Lightblade is also pretty hotly contested, with its PT looking to try and make his place known as well after that bold move from Lightblade. Doesn't look as though he's within range to make the slipstream work. He wants to be a little bit closer before they get onto this heavy braking zone into turn 4. So that he's gone very wide there as well, it's PT. Potentially trying to outbrake himself. That's going to open the door to Stealth Sheep as he jumps into the inside. Stealth Sheep's going to make this one work, but can he hold it going into the next left-hander? He's going to have to go it around the outside. He might well look for a bit of a switchback, but no, he just holds his line and keeps it side by side for now as they come together a little bit as well. Bumper to bumper on those front wings, but Stealth Sheep's got the inside line. He backs off a little bit from the look of it to make sure that he doesn't do himself any damage and ends up taking it with a good drive out of the corner. So Stealth Sheep and its PT going toe-to-toe at the moment. It looks as though that Qatar dude and Bobby Dazzler are also going side by side as well, just behind them. Plenty of action within this field at the moment. I mean, it shows by their split times between each other. Just a matter of tenths between all of these drivers. It looks as though fourth place is definitely up for grabs and third place isn't unobtainable as well. All it takes is one small mistake from any of these guys in the front three, and a position will be given up. So let's go back to the action at the front. We'll jump on board with Lightblade, following him in the chase cam as he looks to try and make his car very much known in the presence of Demobi's rear view mirror. We've seen him in the foreground of our pictures before, having a good sniff around the back of that black, white and green car of Demobi. Let's see what he can gain onto the straight before we get up to the inner loop bus stop chicane section. Double reverse chicane, this one. Mentioned it inside the GT3 race on Sunday. The first section of that corner, relatively easy. It's the second one. If you don't get yourself lined up and you're still carrying too much speed, it's so easy to run wide and catch a load of grass and potentially get yourself a slowdown onto the exit of that second chicane. All three of these drivers doing well, but Thorsten Smith's currently maintaining his gap ever so slightly from Demobi. It's around about half a second at the moment. I think I may well have spoken too soon as we see it dip below that half a second mark. Demobi's making small gains at the moment. Looks as though Evan has potentially had an off there. We see him drop to the back of the field, but still not much changing in the way of 9th, 10th and 11th. Plenty of action though between 4th place and all the way back to pretty much 9th. The console quite rightly pointing out on the YouTube chat at the moment that if it finishes like this, it is going to be down to the feature race for the decider. I think we knew that this one was going to be an exciting set of races tonight, and it's definitely proving that way at the moment. Thorsten Smith looks as though he's got the advantage at the moment with around about half a second to Demobi. Lightblade in 3rd place. Remember, ladies and gents, that Demobi and Lightblade are currently tied for the championship before the start of this race. Both of those drivers on 272 points in the championship, with Stealth Sheep on 269. Stealth Sheep, of course, currently sat in 5th place, but don't count him out. It looks as though Demobi's making his move on Thorsten Smith. He's going to look towards the inside. He has to back out of it. Looked as though he was trying to force an error from Thorsten. Thorsten, more than equal to it, just held his nerve. And now Demobi's being challenged by Lightblade as they come right alongside each other. Lightblade looking around the outside, potentially looking for the cutback as he cuts into the inside for the second half of that, and it looks to have given him a good drive onto the setup for the next corner. We'll keep an eye out for this action, but by all means, ladies and gents, keep an eye out for any movers and shakers between 4th and 7th place. Stealth Sheep is hounding the back of its PT. He knows what that position means to him in terms of his championship possibility. So he's definitely going to want to try and take that place back. We are, of course, halfway through this first sprint race of the evening. Feature race will be 30 minutes equivalent to follow. Just to point out as well, Demobi will have got a bonus point for qualifying in 1st place in the sprint race. We will have a second qualification session for the feature, a bonus point also up for grabs within that one. Also, whoever sets the fastest lap in both of our sessions of the evening in the races, they will also get a bonus point. To see Demobi there run a little bit wide, will that cost him a slowdown penalty? We'll have to wait and see as we go up the S's. Nothing in it for now, so I am just going to jump back down into our trackside view of the battle for 4th place. Let's have a look how evenly spaced these guys are as Stealth Sheep still tries to make gains on its PT. It was a lot closer before, but still less than a second's grasp on 4th place, so just waiting for his time to pounce on its PT. That's an easier task said than done, that's for sure. Let's jump back to the action at the front as we follow Thorsten Smith around this corner. Looks as though Stealth Sheep's trying to make his move again on Demobi. Demobi having to go a little bit defensive on the exit of that corner. Looks as though Lightblade, though, fastest. He's got purple in Sector 1 with a 32.1. That's quicker than all of our qualification sessions as the track temperatures come down, allowing these guys to push that little bit harder. Looking at the fuel though, fuel levels are quite low. I'm not sure what they're using from the previous lap. Unfortunately, my telemetry doesn't give me that information. But 15 litres looks a little bit shy. In fact, it's down to 14 now. Although that being said, only 3 full laps remain for Thorsten Smith, so I'm sure he'll be fine. Stealth Sheep, in the meantime, has made his way up into 4th place. Looks as though its PT has had a bit of an accident as we see Bobby Dazzler get crazy on the exit there. Must have just caught a little bit too much curb and it shoots him right off. Did really well to hold his car onto the track and not lose too much time there. Well done, Bobby Dazzler, but he is about to be challenged by its PT. As I was saying, it looks as though its PT may have had a little bit of a wobble, potentially a bit of an off. No damage to the front of the car of Stealth Sheep, so it may well have been down to his own doing. Potentially just got a little bit too loose on one of the corners, and we noticed that these drivers were mighty close to each other. Let's get back to the action at the front though, because Demobi is defending hard against Lightblade and at the same time putting a lot of pressure onto our current race leader Thorsten Smith. Looks as though that pressure's worked off as well, because he's built up a bit of a gap just in that sector from Lightblade, and he's right up the trumpet now with Thorsten Smith. Heavy on the brake, and we see a big puff of smoke from Thorsten Smith's car, but Demobi is rallying up the inside. Soon to be the outside. Is he going to try and get the cutback? Looks as though he is. Let's see whether or not he's got the drive. It looks as though he has. Could just well be my camera angle though. Let's see what happens on this drag up. He's holding the inside line. Looks as though he's about to take first place. Great driving from Demobi, as Thorsten Smith has to go heavily defensive against Lightblade. Super clean, fair driving between these three, that's for sure. All of them respecting each other's abilities. They have raced with each other a hell of a lot, so they know each other quite well. Know when to push, know when to ease off, know when to give each other room. But Demobi's currently got the lead. 2 laps remaining. Thorsten Smith in second place, within 2/10 of him. 2/10 back from that, we've got Lightblade also pushing to try and get himself top of that podium. Let me jump back to my telemetry board at the moment. I'll try and let you know what's happening. Lightblade has actually gone purple in sector 1 with a 32-second sector 1. Looks as though the slipstream from these two cars is benefiting as we see Thorsten Smith moving to the inside towards the double chicane section. Just remind myself what they call it on the actual one. It's called the inner loop. I beg your pardon, ladies and gents. Trying to get to know these corners as we see Lightblade look up the inside. Tiny touch from those two. Mighty clean as they come together heavily though. That's going to cost them a lot inside the running order. Let's have a look at that and how this one progresses. It looked as though they just got too close, got sucked into each other, and that's now released Stealth Sheep into second place. Lightblade is now in 4th, and we see Thorsten Smith all the way back down the pack in 9th place, potentially suffering some damage from that one. Let's jump back trackside. Huge bit of controversy there, that's for sure. But Demobi now has a huge lead. He can ease off a little bit, make sure he brings this one home comfortably. Stealth Sheep licking his chops now in second place. That's going to mean a lot to his championship, that's for sure. With Lightblade now in 4th with quite a lot to do in these final 2 seconds. That guitar dude currently sat in 3rd place. So the way that this one's panned out, luckily we caught the action on camera, because I wouldn't mind seeing that one again, that's for sure. It did look as though on the exit Lightblade may potentially have just moved over a little bit too much, caught the front end, and then the two cars coming together sucked in like magnets and it just turned them around. Lightblade turned around the front of Thorsten Smith's car with nowhere for either driver to go. Thorsten Smith now sat in 9th with Lightblade in 4th. Definitely one for the stewards to review, but I don't know whether or not it's going to matter. too much when we get towards the end of it. We'll have to stick about and see how the feature race pans out. Huge controversy there though. So Demobi is clean and comfortable in first place in the penultimate lap on this one. Stealth Sheep is in second, but he's being challenged by that Qatar dude. He's not going to want to give that place up. Just to give you guys an idea on how our championship points work, first place will get 35 points. So that's going to put Demobi, if he finishes where he is currently placed, on 307 points. Second place gets 30 points, with Stealth Sheep currently on 269, so that's going to put him on 299. Remember though, Demobi did get a bonus point from finishing qualification in pole. So the fastest lap bonus point is definitely going to have an effect on this one. Not sure who's holding it at the moment. No, Stealth Sheep was looking mighty quick in previous sectors, but my telemetry only tells me the last lap sectors, so we will have to wait until the end of the race to see who's got that. Demobi now entering, in fact all of these drivers now entering their final lap. We'll have a little bit of a look down the field, see if we've got any battles. It does look as though all of these drivers relatively evenly spread. So Lightblade managed to recover himself into fourth place. Thorsten Schmidt in ninth. He will be fuming with that, as will Lightblade, I'm sure. Let's jump into the car of Demobi. And I will keep on with any of the action and jump right back to it. But I think this guy deserves all of the kudos as he looks to take his first race of the evening with a victory in the sprint. It wasn't exactly comfortable for Demobi. Thorsten Schmidt leading the race up until around about the halfway mark. But Demobi just buying his time, waiting for his time to pounce. Chose it wisely and then stuck out of trouble. Now I'm just going to jump back and let's have a look at the action between Stealth Sheep and that Qatar dude. These two drivers very close to each other at the moment as we see them there, the two teammates in the 53, and not sure on that Qatar dude's number either. In fact, it looks as though they might both be in the 53 car. Could be wrong though. Teammates in terms of livery only. These guys are fighting for track position and for those points. There will be no team orders. They'll be pushing each other as hard as possible, but it looks as though Stealth Sheep is going to hold on to it as Demobi crosses the line. Demobi is our sprint race winner as Stealth Sheep crosses the line with that Qatar dude in third place. Uniclark's going to crumb across the line in fourth, so Lightblade losing a position, and it does look as though his car sustained some damage from that contact with Thorsten Schmidt. Bobby Dazzler finishing in sixth place with Lecky now crossing the line in seventh. Thorsten Schmidt looking all sorts of sideways in ninth place. Lionsfoot managing to get himself up into eighth. He'll be happy with that after his qualification. And then it's PT in 10th after challenging for the podium for so long. He managed to slip back, I'm assuming from the look of the front of that car. There is a lot of damage. But let's have a look at the fastest lap times for that session. Looks as though the bonus point is going to our race leader. Oh no, I do beg your pardon. It's going to go to Lightblade. So that's a little bit of reprieve for Lightblade after losing so many points. He is going to pick up a bonus point into that one. But I did mention earlier the pointing system for this championship and for all of our championships here at Rubbins Racing. First place will get 35 points, second will get 30, then 27, 25, 23, 20, 17, 15, 13, 10 and 7. So those are all the points that are on offer for the respective places in tonight's races, with one bonus point for pole position, with, don't forget, 2 qualification sessions for this evening, one for each of the races, and then 1 bonus point for the fastest lap. So that is all for the sprint race. We're just going to get our lobby arranged as Lecky gets it set up for our feature race. As I mentioned, it's going to be 30 minutes of pretty close door-to-door action with a mandatory pit stop. So make sure you stick around as we enter this session. In the meantime, give me your predictions on the comments section. Let me know who you think is going to take this one. Is it going to be Demobi? Is he going to get a back-to-back brace of wins and become a back-to-back champion in the RRTCC? Or is there going to be an upset? Is Stealth Sheep going to capitalise on his second place finish? Is he going to sneak up from the rear and end up taking the championship? It's going to require complete concentration, and to be honest, I think it's... But watch this space and we'll see how it unfolds. If you haven't done already, be sure to like and subscribe to the Rubbins Racing channel to make sure that you don't miss any of the action. We are, of course, coming to the end of Season 2 of 2020's listings of seasons. We will, of course, take a short break, and then we do have our special events planned and prepared, which we'll be giving you information on shortly. If you've got a keen eye for sim racing, you fancy yourself as the next Demobi in the Rubbins Racing Touring Car Championship, and you haven't yet joined our community, by all means head yourselves on over to www.rubbinsracing.co.uk, hit the join button. That'll take you over to our Discord, and you can be racing in this series next season, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what you've got, that's for sure. To run through the rest of our offerings, currently we're operating a GT3 Championship, which is on Sunday evenings. Our Clio Cup, which may well be changing in its day, currently runs parallel to this one and isn't televised, but super popular racing in the Clio Cup. I was the previous lead coordinator in that last season, and let me tell you, you won't get closer action with those little Renaults. They really are door to door, bumper to bumper. Running down the rest of our order, we have our regular Thursday night lights. This is a little bit of a fan favourite, really. We have a different car on a different track every week, and we like to try and get some of our drivers that aren't involved inside the championships, give them their time to shine and impress the rest of their community members. It's a bit of fun. It's only for bragging rights, really. No championship points taken in this one. As we enter our 10 minutes of free practice before the feature race, we'll keep an eye out on who exits. And then, yes, on Friday night, you will find our GT5 Ginettas. Also very popular racing. Tricky little cars to get around the track. Clean, safe and fast, that's for sure. Easy to set a hot lap in. Very difficult to set back-to-back hot laps in, that's for sure. And then Sunday mornings, we have our Formula Renault series. Again, this one isn't televised. However, very fun, close to realistic action as we run with accelerated tyre wear to make sure that every pit stop counts, and you don't want to light up the tyres in those, let me tell you. We're also going to be introducing something a little bit new next season as we open our doors to oval racing. Plenty of fans last year in our Dash for Cash prize event of the oval, looking to put your strategy where it counts and see who's got the balls to be flat out around the ovals. So keep an eye out for that as we enter Season 3. Something a little bit new to the Rubbins Racing Network, and plenty of people looking forward to that one. But for now, we're focusing on the RRTCC Championship. If you missed the sprint race, you missed a hell of a lot of action. Demobi getting the upper hand on it. So he is our current championship leader ahead of the rest of the field. Lightblade, unfortunately, getting in a bit of a tangle and it costing him very badly. But you see that guitar dude, keen to get out on track quite quick. he was holding his own against Stealth Sheep in that sprint race. As I choose my words a little bit too soon, he jumped straight back into the pits, potentially testing out where his limiter line is, or he might just be going for a bit of a comfort break before we start this session. Word in from that guitar dude's car there, just making sure that I am watching. And of course, like a hawk, don't worry, we won't miss any of that action. But yeah, it looks as though he's going straight back out on pit, so a little bit of a practice there. Remember guys, these guys will have a mandatory pit stop, and pit stop assists are off, so if they come in too hot, they will get a penalty, and those penalties rack up mighty quick if you come in over the 37 mile an hour speed limit of the pit lane. Quite a few of the other drivers now making their way onto the track. We've got Evan, our Irish driver, going out looking to make some improvements. He's in constant battles, it seems, in every single championship against our Welshman Lionsfoot. These two drivers are always trying to get one up on each other. Good friends, and always a good laugh at the end of the race as they fight for bragging rights more than anything. See who else we've got on track. Lecky looking to get in some practice as well. Disappointing qualifying from him last time around. He's definitely quicker than what we've seen him, but relatively, we'll say an alright race finish in the end. He'll be happy with it, but he will be looking to improve as much as possible. Remember, his competitor within the championship standings is that guitar dude, and that guitar dude having a fine finish to the end of that race, so he'll definitely be wanting to try and come as close as he can to the to the fifth spot in this championship. So just over 5 minutes remaining inside this free practice before we enter the qualification of our feature race. The feature race is going to be 16 laps of action with a mandatory pit stop. Hopefully Thorsten Schmidt has managed to calm down after what I can imagine is an absolute tirade of German swear words inside his room, gripping onto that steering wheel after what happened to him. Can imagine as well, I don't know many Welsh swear words, but Lightblade will definitely be of cursing two drivers coming together in what was a mighty big crash. Thorsten Schmidt coming off worse though, ending up in 9th place, and he hasn't had the best of luck as we enter the final week. He didn't have the best of outcomes either in the GT3. It was unfortunate, but he can still make it up inside that GT3 championship. That one also going down to the wire. In fact, let me bring up my current championship standings in the rest of our televised divisions, because I'm pretty sure that all of our championships are going down to the wire this time around. We are indeed. So Lightblade is currently topping out our GT5 championship with Duftino right up behind him in second, and Bobby Dazzler also featuring inside this race in third place for that championship. Not to be discounted though, Lionsfoot also in a run-in for a championship podium in fourth place. That is the Ginetta GT5 championships. Make sure you check out that action on Friday. If you don't want to miss any of the action, be sure to like and subscribe our Rubbins Racing channel and you won't miss a thing. Let's have a look at our LMP2 championships now. Do beg your pardon, this one isn't televised, but looks as though Richie has almost got that one secure from Ubar, who's currently sat in second place, with It's BT sat in third. That one probably the furthest matched championship. And then if we look into our GT3 championship standings, Jasko VR is currently one step ahead of Thorsten Smith in second place in that championship. As I mentioned, Thorsten Smith having a torrid time. I think it was in the feature race of the GT3 on Sunday. If you want to check out that action, do apologise about some of the quality of the stream. We ended up going into a radio broadcast in the sprint race, as I mentioned earlier, but check out the feature. It was a fine display from those guys in the GT3, but that one also going down to the wire. Jasko VR has got a 33-point lead, but remember, ladies and gents, 35 points on offer for a race win. 1 bonus point for a fastest lap in both of those race sessions, and the GT3 is operating with 1 qualification session, so 1 bonus point to be made up with that one. So Lecky topping out the table. I told you to keep an eye out on him. He did have a disappointing sprint race, and I'm sure he won't be too bothered about me mentioning that, as he tops out the quickest inside this qualification session. And in terms of our qualifying and practices, I think I might be right in saying that that is the fastest lap of the evening. I could be wrong in terms of the race, but in terms of the qualifiers and in terms of the previous practice session, I'm pretty sure that one tops out the table. Warmer track temperatures though, that's going to help those tyres get a little bit more grip to them. I'd say this 72 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty much optimum. Don't want it too cold, so that your tyres end up losing the temperatures, but also all of our drivers, I think, opting for slicks, so you don't want them too warm either, or otherwise they will start to cook. 1 minute remaining inside our practice, then we're going to go down back into a 10-minute qualification session. And then, ladies and gents, we will be getting up to the decider of our Rubbins Racing Touring Car Championship Season 2. If you haven't done already, let me know who your predictions are for the next race. Give me your 1, 2, 3s. Let me know whereabouts you're watching it inside the world, as we all pretty much enjoy a bit of online sim racing in this unfortunate global pandemic lockdown. Hopefully all staying safe with your loved ones and enjoying what you can in terms of sport. Its PT is now gone a little bit quicker than Lecky. In fact, I say a little bit quicker. It's more than 1/3 of a second quicker. That's going to play a big part, I think, as well into the qualifying session. Worth bearing in mind that it looks as though Stealth Sheep, Lionsfoot, Lightblade, Thorsten Smith and Bobby Dazzler all looking to take a bit of a break before this session. Demobi's gone out for a quick run, but he hasn't set a time as of yet. Let's have a look what he's doing. Yeah, it looks as though he is currently out on a hot one though. Let's have a look at his sectors. It's gone purple in Sector 2, just as it flashed up on my screen. He's not purple in Sector 1, but he's not far off that pace. In case you are tuning in late, or you have only just caught your screen as you've been making your cups of tea or coffee, this is a practice session. Don't expect any of these guys 6th or below to just be dawdling and settling for the back of the pack. The qualification will come up next. This is currently free practice. Let's have a look though as Demobi comes into the final straight, and he is about to cross the line, and it's enough for first place. It was looking hot all the way through, and he gets a 150.7. So a very quick lap there from Demobi. Looks to have really found his rhythm in terms of this Watkins Glen GP circuit. But let's see if he can put it where it counts. I wouldn't put it past him. If I can bring up my statistics, if we just have a look at how this race has progressed so far in the championship. So let's have a look at Demobi's record. As you see Lecky there gunning to try and get out on track as quick as possible. So as I was saying, Demobi had an awful first race of the season, ended up finishing in 13th at Laguna Seca in the sprint, but then came back to win it in the feature race. And then he got, then we were around at Indy Road Course where he finished first in the sprint, 6th in the feature. Willow Springs was 3rd in the roster. He finished 10th in the sprint and then 1st in the feature. Long Beach, he finished 1st in the sprint and 4th in the feature. And then Daytona Road Course last week, he finished 1st in the sprint and 2nd in the feature. So just 3 occasions in 10 races, he's finished outside of the top 6 drivers, it seems. Yeah, it looks as though 6 podiums altogether from our Bavarian driver. Looking down in his next competitor, let's have a look at at Lightblade. Looking at his statistics, looks as though 5 podiums for Lightblade this season. The difference being when Demobi's finished outside or in the top 10 or below, Lightblade hasn't had any finish worse than 6th place throughout the season. So that's where the difference is being made up. I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, my memory doesn't serve me well enough to remember what happened in these races, but I'm sure that it would have been incidents or accidents costing Demobi those positions, because as you've seen in any races that you've watched, he is almost Mr. Consistent. So Lecky is the first out on the hot lap. He is currently on there. Let's bring up the telemetry and I'll try and keep you posted on the sectors. Remember, ladies and gents, inside that previous practice session we had Demobi out there setting a 150.7. That's the current time to beat. Let's see what Lecky can do as he comes through Sector 1. Car getting a little bit loose, but I do know that that's the way that Lecky likes it. On the exit of that second chicane, Thorsten Smith's gone and put in a 32.6 in the first sector. Lecky with... well, it looks as though, yep, 32.9. So Thorsten Smith looks to have the upper hand at the moment over Stealth Sheep in second with the sector times for Sector 1. Currently following Lecky around there, he's put in a 35.58 in his second sector. Let's have a look at how the rest of the guys pan out for that one. So Demobi, purple, currently with a 35.3. Thorsten Smith also with a 35.3, but just ever so slightly slower by 0.05 of a second. So next to nothing in it at the moment between Thorsten Smith and Demobi. Thorsten Smith purple in Sector 1, Demobi purple in Sector 2. See Lecky now coming into the final sector, into the start-finish line. He'll be setting the first lap. Looks as though its PT has invalidated his, so 151.3 is the benchmark set by Lecky. Let's have a look at, I think it's Demobi who's going to be the next in line. I beg your pardon, it's Thorsten Smith. Thorsten Smith goes fastest, Demobi only good enough at the moment to get into 3rd place. But Bobby Dazzler comes in into second with a 151.069, so not far away from Thorsten Smith, only 0.4 in it. As the rest of the field starts to fill out with Lightblade in 4th, Dagnatardian in 5th, Uniclark in 6th, Demobi all the way down to 7th place. So Demobi yet to find his rhythm. Lionsfoot currently sat in 8th with Stealth Sheep in 9th. Looks as though Stealth Sheep may well have just had a slow running out that time with its PT. Let's have a look, see if there's any damage on those cars. Doesn't look as though there is. In fact, it looks as though its PT has got brand new fresh tyres. So that'll explain it. He's either come back into the pits after sustaining some damage, or he's just out on his hot one. Bobby Dazzler, though, putting in a great lap there. Looks as though he's managed to get this car firing at its best. Track temperatures are up a little bit. We'll have to see how they pan out for the race. Looks as though Bobby Dazzler as well. He's looking to try and get himself solid in the race as we see him qualifying with race fuel in. 36 litres of fuel. A few of our drivers like to try and drop all of the fuel out of it for qualifications. Some of them like to make sure that they don't upset the balance of the car so that they don't get into the race, have to deal with a heavy fuel load, and it catches them off guard. But Demoby, worth bearing in mind, he's just gone purple in Sector 1, Stealth Sheep currently purple in Sector 2. The difference between those splits, around about 0.4 of a second, so Stealth Sheep will definitely improve on this one, as will Demoby. Let's have a look at Demoby first though. So we see Thorsten Schmidt just in front of him, he's about to cross the line. See if Thorsten Schmidt can improve. I don't think he's going to do, looking at his splits as he comes into the pits. Demoby will cross the line and he will go into first place though, with 4 minutes remaining of this session. Keep an eye now on Stealth Sheep. Looks as though he's looking good in terms of potentially a top 3, may even challenge the current provisional pole of Demoby. Well, it looks as though it may well have been, oh no, I beg your pardon, it's good enough for third place at the moment with a 150.6. So Demoby has the advantage for now. Let's have a look at any changes between that. Demoby's still out on track, still setting hot laps. Does look as though he's only got enough fuel though for one more of them, with 4 litres inside that tank. Thorsten Schmidt's currently out as we see him get all sorts of wide there. Looks as though he's going to enter the pits. We'll go back on board with Thorsten Schmidt. Stealth Sheep also out on track, still setting laps. Thorsten Schmidt with 10 litres remaining, so that's going to be enough to see out the remainder of this session, that's for sure. Stealth Sheep with 6 litres inside his fuel tank, so I think that's going to be enough for the session as well. Going off a complete guesstimate, I'm thinking just shy of 2 litres a lap, but that is a finger in the air. A little puff of smoke there on the second entrance to the second chicane of the inner circle. Is it called the inner circle? I'm starting to question myself. The inner loop, beg your pardon. So Stealth Sheep once again improving in Sector 2. That looks as though where he's making up all of his time. 35 seconds, almost dead for the Sector 2 of Stealth Sheep. Just to put that into perspective, he's almost 12 tenths quicker than its PT, who's the next in line in terms of fastest in Sector 2. Most drivers though around about half a second down. Demoby though, he's back out on, oh, no, he's back into the pits after making an improvement, going purple in that last lap. Stealth Sheep though just about to come to the end of this one. Currently following Thorsten Schmidt around. He's out on an outlap at the moment. So look at the difference there as we get into the 150.2s. I think I may well have been way off in my estimate of Lecky getting the fastest lap. I may well have added a second on, so apologies for the misinformation, ladies and gents. But Demoby and Stealth Sheep equal to each other at the moment, with Lightblade behind, less than 1/10 separating the top 3 of these drivers. We've got 1 minute of the session remaining. Demoby in the pits, so he's not going to have enough time to get out there and do another outlap. So Demoby's session is over with. We will of course follow round with Stealth Sheep at the moment. He's our current second place holder, but Lightblade is hot on his tail and Thorsten Schmidt is making slight improvements each time around. These guys approaching a little bit of traffic, but that might well have been Lightblade. It is indeed. Stealth Sheep coming around on a lap at the moment. Looks as though Lightblade's previous lap was done in. He saved himself though. He's going to have one more shot at this one. So Stealth Sheep making an improvement. He goes purple in Sector 2. And he's again about half a second quicker than everybody else their previous time round in Sector 2. So Stealth Sheep looking consistent. He couldn't improve on his previous lap time. Let's follow Lightblade around. He's still on a hot lap. Stealth Sheep will also get one more crack at this one. A few other drivers out on their Thorsten Smith, though, he's going to have to settle for at best 4th place in this one. We've got that guitar dude, Bobby Dazzler, Lecky and Evan. The 4 drivers that can knock Thorsten Smith off that 4th place spot. And not Evan, so 3 more drivers to challenge Thorsten Smith's 4th. 2 more drivers as we see Bobby Dazzler come in. No improvement. Let's have a look at these sectors then. So Stealth Sheep with a 32.65. That's a green sector for him. Light Blade with a 32.4 in sector 1. So going slightly quicker. Sector 2, where Stealth Sheep's been dominating through this session, looks as though he's only around about 200ths quicker than Light Blade on this one. It's all going to come down to sector 3. Is it going to be Light Blade in 2nd place, maybe even 1st place to challenge Demobi? It doesn't look as though his sector times are going to indicate that, but you never know what he's going to pull out the bag. It's going to be Stealth Sheep, though, coming across the line first. There we go, folks. It's going to be Stealth Sheep over there first. Will he make an improvement? And it's Light Blade topping out pole position with a 150.099. Demobi gets put down into 2nd place. Stealth Sheep without an improvement on that one. So Stealth Sheep remains in 3rd place. Then Thorsten Smith, unable to get beaten in 4th place. It's PT. He's going to make up the 3rd row with him. With that guitar dude, I beg your pardon. Bobby Dazzler and Lecky will make up the 4th, with Uniclark and Lionsfoot this time in the 5th row. And Evan at the back of the field. So this is what they've been working towards over the last 6 weeks, ladies and gents. This is going to be the final race of Season 2 in the Rubbins Racing Touring Car Championship, the RRTCC. It's basically Demobi's to lose, but any position on track will make the difference. The action will unfold with Light Blade managing to pick up the bonus point for finishing in pole position on this one. Remember, bonus points for fastest lap in this, but there is a mandatory pit stop. Any of these guys that come in too hot into the pits will suffer huge penalties. Also, any damage that they sustain, if the damage repairs are turned on, that's going to cost them a lot inside the pits. So strategy is going to play a big part inside this race. Guys basically want to get out there. They want to keep the tyres on point. They want to make sure that they don't get any damage. Stay well clear of all of the action. But a few final adjustments to be made to pit strategies and car setups. And then we'll be underway for this grand final inside the Touring Car Championships. Comms from the cars with all of the drivers in good spirits. Here we go, folks. We're about to get onto the lights for the final race. Listen out for the buzzer. And here we go. We're off. Looks to be a slow start from a lot of the field, unless it's a little bit of lag from my end, but Moby looks as though he was challenging around the outside. Is he going to make it count? He's not onto the start of turn 1, as all drivers look to get away cleanly. Lecky making short gains on that one, managing to leapfrog over that guitar dude. That guitar dude actually slipping down a couple of places. So that guitar dude currently in 8th. Running order for the top 4 though hasn't changed. All of them within grasp of each other. So Bobby Dazzler slipping a little bit further down the field. Looks as though he's now into 9th place, as we see Demobi getting mighty close to the rear end of that blue and white car of Light Blade. Light Blade managing to secure a bit of a gap. Demobi is going to have to start defending from the challenge of Stealth Sheep though. very shortly. Let's jump into the chase of these guys so that we can get a good view of this action as they're all bunched up together. Big lock up there from Lightblade as he gets on to the brakes quite late. Not losing any momentum from that. Looks as though its PT has made up his slight gap towards Lecky in 6th place. 7th place is that Guitar Dude. He's very only 4/10ths behind Lecky, I think. Around about half a second. We see another big lock up from Lightblade. He must be keen to get onto those brakes, trying to make as much of a gap up from the green and black car of Demobi as possible. All these drivers clean away on lap 1 of 16 for this final feature race of the season. Looks as though Thorsten Schmidt is about to be challenged by its PT. We saw these two going toe-to-toe in the sprint race as we see its PT up on the inside cleanly on Thorsten Schmidt. Thorsten Schmidt also looks as though he's going to be challenged by Lecky. If Lecky can get himself alongside, he looks towards the outside, potentially to fend off the attack from that Guitar Dude in 7th place. So Thorsten Schmidt just losing out on the 1 place, but Lecky inside the slipstream with that Guitar Dude right behind him. Up front, it looks as though Demobi has managed to take that position away from Lightblade. In fact, Lightblade then taking it right back from him. These two drivers defending against each other and pushing each other hard. We'll stick with the action at first. We can hopefully get a good view of the battle for 4th place in that one as well. As Demobi looks around the outside, gets himself a little bit wide though, a little bit too late on the brakes. He may well have opened up the position for Stealth Sheep. He doesn't though, he gets the drive away. Fantastic driving there from Demobi. He who dares wins, and Demobi is the one from that move. We saw him get really wide on the corner. It was just him maintaining that speed, keeping the pedal down onto the floor, barely even touching the brakes, and he sailed past Stealth Sheep and Lightblade. Lightblade has now slipped himself back down to 4th place, and he's about to be challenged by Thorsten Schmidt and Lecky, who are currently battling it out. Does look as though Thorsten Schmidt though has got himself involved. We can see him right in the background there, knocking over some cones. He's currently sat in 8th place. Disaster for our Berliner there. Unfortunately, Lecky also potentially wrapped up inside that one as we see him drop down the order. I'm sure we'll see a few of these guys dropping into the pits, but it's Demobi, our current race leader, Stealth Sheep in 2nd with Lightblade in 3rd. No drivers entering the pits. Oh, I beg your pardon. Thorsten Schmidt decides to go in. I think that's a good move from him after losing his track position. Hopefully he'll be able to get a quick pit stop without any damage and get himself out onto clear air. And we've seen through both the qualification and practice sessions what this guy can do in a clean bit of track. But it's currently Demobi and Stealth Sheep, the current 1st and 2nd place in the championship, if my mental arithmetic is anything to go by. 1st and 2nd in the championship. Then Lightblade, who I think is 3rd in the championship, close up in 3rd place. So 2.2 seconds separates 1st and 3rd. Mighty big battle for 4th coming on between that Guitar Dude and its PT. Let's have a little look at this action as it's so close. We'll jump into the chase mode. So they're currently on with that Guitar Dude as he challenges for the 4th place of its PT. Not far in front of him, you can see Lightblade still locking up those front tyres as he enters the braking zones, pushing his car as much as he can to try and make up that gap. Going to jump back into the chase with our 2nd place Stealth Sheep, as we saw that gap between 1st and 2nd getting shorter and shorter. Demobi though absolutely rapid inside this 3rd sector, pulls away another 10th or so. He just seems to get the smooth drive, avoiding the apex on that one, and it looks to be the smoother line, just keeping himself about a foot away from the camber of that corner, and it just looks like he can get more momentum on the drive out of that final corner. So let's have a look what he can do inside the S's as we see Lecky now entering the pits. also got involved in the altercation between Thorsten Smith. That put Thorsten Smith to the back of the pack. So that's Lecky and Thorsten Smith, our current drivers, entering the pits. So they will be able to continue the rest of the race as is, with the rest of the field still yet to go in. Looks as though Stealth Sheep there taking a few risks with the track limits. Not sure whether or not that's going to award him a slowdown. It looked to me as though we went over the line, but it is up to the in-game race director to award these penalties. As we see, big gain there of around about quarter of a second onto Demobi. Let's jump back onto trackside and get a good view of these cars as they enter the second section of this course. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. So Lightblade looks as though he's gained around about 0.7 of a second from its PT. He's going to want to try and make that gap as big as possible before he enters the pits. Because looking at the current running order, if he enters the pits anytime soon, he's going to come right in front or around the same time as Thorsten Smith comes around the start-finish line. He's going to want to try and get in as much clear air as possible. Don't forget, Lightblade managing to get the fastest lap in our qualification session for this race. So if he can get out onto clean air, he can try and make up as much time as possible and try and close in on that position. Let's have a look at what's going on in fourth place. The battle between It's PT and that guitar dude. We have got Uniclark right behind them, and Bobby Dazzler not far away in the in the red and blue car. So on the drive up towards the inner loop, looks as though he's got the drive on him. Again, a little bit sideways there. Bobby Dazzler. But that guitar dude made up a lot of time losing it inside the inner loop though. So back to the battle for first, I think. This is Stealth Sheep and Demobi. Stealth Sheep in second in the white and black with a red stripe Cavour livery car. Demobi in the black, green and white Actual Vision. I think it's Actual Vision. I can't remember the sponsor name, but a very distinctive colour for our current RRTCC Season 1 champion and our current championship leader. You see though the field closely contested all the way back from first to 7th place of Bobby Dazzler, who's in that blue and red livery car. That'll just be entering the background of your screen there. So next to nothing in it. I'd say that's about one medium mistake away. So all of these drivers have to maintain their composure throughout all of this one. Let's bring my split boards back up. Let's have a look what Thorsten Smith's currently setting. Going green in Sector 1. He's not far off the pace either in Sector 2. So I'll expect to see that 35-second gap from the leader starting to diminish ever so slightly as this race progresses, especially when these guys come into the pit stop looking to lose at least 17 or 18 seconds. It isn't the longest pit straight and paddock for an American circuit. Quite often we see on the ovals absolutely huge paddock lengths. Not too bad with this course though, so not too much time to be lost. So Stealth Sheep within half a second at the moment of Demobi. Demobi looking to his more conventional line. We saw that amazing move to take first place from Lightblade earlier on, where he went wide, managed to maintain his speed, didn't scrub off anything, got his power down early, and made up a heck of a lot of distance on him. So as we go down to the drag into the boot, it does look as though the green and black car of Demobi doesn't look to be too different from the straight line speed of Stealth Sheep. Entering the final corner now. And that gap looks like it's going to be maintained. So let's have a little bit of a look down the order. As we see, big move there. Stealth Sheep is into the pits. Stealth Sheep decided that it's his time to come in. This is probably a wise move. It's going to, I think, put him out into a bit of clean air. So let's keep on board with Lightblade, as he's got around about 0.7 of a second lead ahead of its PT, but its PT looks to be putting in pretty hot laps. Only around about 0.2 difference between Lightblade and its PT last lap round. We also see Lionsfoot and Evan, two closely matched competitors, both entering the pits at the same time. That'll be interesting to see where those two come out. They are back out on track now. You see absolutely no difference between those. Whilst we've got a bit of a gap between our leader, let me show you what I mean between these two drivers as they go toe to toe. Fantastic battles all the time, and unfortunately it doesn't get documented because we have fantastic battles throughout the rest of the field. But these two drivers, really close companions within the community. They love to race it against each other. As we see Lionsfoot there getting extra sloppy, that's going to be advantage to Evan. You see him get it back on track, managing to control himself. Apologies if that's the commentator's curse there, Lionsfoot. I can hear him chuckling away in the background. Hopefully it wasn't me. But as I say, these two drivers showing what it is to be a part of a community, always willing to pat each other on the back when they do something well, and always willing to take the mick out of each other when one of them makes a mistake. So up at the top we have got Demoby, Lightblade, Uniclark and Bobby Dazzler all into the pit. So we currently have a new provisional race leader with its PT, and that Guitar Dude closely followed in second place. So, by my makings, our first and second place are the only drivers remaining to make their pit stops. All the rest of the field are out now. So we can see their current gap between its PT and that Guitar Dude, less than half a second. We are currently following round its PT. But then, more than interestingly enough, third place, Demoby, he's back on track at the moment. They've got a 17.6 second gap to first place. Remember what I said earlier, folks, it looks as though pit stops are around about 17-18 seconds. So when these guys come in, if they were to come in on this lap, they're going to be right in the thick of it with the leaders, and they are going to have to try and enter the track safely. So they're actually probably going to come out around about 6th place. So I can imagine you're going to see its PT and that Guitar Dude throwing down everything they've got to try and make that gap a little bit bigger to third place to Moby. We'll keep on board with the action, but I'll keep an eye out for the running order between these. Looking down the rest of the field, Demoby in third, Stealth Sheep in fourth with Lightblade in fifth. Uniclark is being chased down by Bobby Dazzler in seventh. Then we've got Thorsten Smith, who's managed to make the best of a bad situation, currently sat in 8th place. He's around about 10. Let's see, it's 9 seconds back from Bobby Dazzler. If he can string together a few hot laps, he'll soon make that up, I'm sure of it. Then we've got Evan in 9th, who's currently getting the better of Lionsfoot, but only a second between them. Keep your eyes out between those two lap times. And then Lecky, after I'm suspecting some damage sustained with that coming together, I'm assuming with Thorsten Smith. I do beg your pardon if that isn't the case, but I did see the two drivers drop right back down the field when Thorsten Smith had his off in the second or third lap of this race. Looks as though he hasn't been able to find his flow since then. Lead coordinator Lecky in 11th place. But currently, this battle between its PT and that Guitar Dude have not been able to make up any time. Demoby is still maintaining that 17.5 second gap between third and first. Looking at their lap times, last lap around, Moby actually on 2 minutes. I'm wondering whether or not that was the pit stops, or whether or not he's just had a bit of a mare. Interesting though, Stealth Sheep is within 1 second of him, and Lightblade is within 1 second of fourth place Stealth Sheep. So as XPT and that guitar dude continue to battle it out, let's have a look at Lightblade at the moment. We'll jump into the chase and try and see the difference between our championship contenders. Championship leader currently at the front of this battle between these three cars. Then I make it out to be our second place in Stealth Sheep. Could be wrong though, this is just mental arithmetic. He is in the middle of this, and then our third place, I believe, with Lightblade, who we're currently following around. Worth to note that XPT is currently inside the pits as we see Demobi crossing against them with Stealth Sheep and Lightblade. So XPT losing out, he's currently sat in 5th. We'll keep an eye out to see whether or not he loses any other positions. I don't think he's going to do. Looks as though he's got enough of a lead to 6th place Uniclark. But he has got a lot of distance between himself and 4th place. In fact, Uniclark is right on the tail of him, within half a second of XPT. So we'll continue to follow these guys around. We've got our provisional race leader with that guitar dude. He's yet to make his pit stop. He's the one remaining driver yet to make his mandatory pit stop in this feature race. We are up to lap 10 of 16 as we see Lightblade there breaching track limits, and we can see he's got a bit of a slowdown. You can hear the revs in his car dropping, and he's soon to get back on that power, but that's making him lose time to the current third place of Stealth Sheep. You can see a big gap forming there, and it looks as though the race director's been extra harsh. We're doing a lot of lift off from the throttle from the Welsh driver Lightblade in his challenge for the championship. Let's have a look at the chase of Stealth Sheep as he tries to pin down Demobi. It looks as though he perhaps shouldn't have mentioned his name there as he nearly takes off his mirror near the outside of that wall. So easy to catch if you misjudge your line ever so slightly or catch a bit too much curb. In fact, I tell you what, Stealth Sheep, I'll do you a favour there, Jeff, mate, and I'll move off you. You can continue to drive, because it looks as though I'm causing you all sorts of issues with a commentator's curse. Continue to monitor 5th place at the moment. That's quite hotly contested between Uniclark and Bobby Dazzler. You see it's PT slamming on his anchors, locking up the tyres and going a little bit wide. That's going to be a race director slowdown, I'm sure of it. And that causes the gap between him and Uniclark to drop dramatically as they enter the straight on the run-up to the inner loop. Looks as though Uniclark's got the drive on him. He's also going to be able to maintain the inside line. Those two drivers just narrowly avoid each other. Bobby Dazzler just sat ready to pounce on the back of these two guys as well. Not much changing up front as XPT manages to bravely take up the inside again and take that position back. He's on the outside, but he's going to move across to the inside, and a huge battle between these three. Fantastic driving from all three drivers. We'll follow around the chase of Bobby Dazzler and watch this one unfold. Fantastic driving from XPT there, though, showing his ability and his racecraft there to just be able to judge where to push, where to find that gap on Uniclark. Uniclark also veteran in the touring cars, knows what he's doing with these. Super fast guy. Don't let his position in the field misguide you. All three of these drivers super quick. It just so happens that the front of the field currently is just borderline alien. that guitar dude isn't managing to break away much of a gap between Demobi. Currently sat at 16 seconds. Remember, that guitar dude yet to pit. See that big lock up again from its PT. Looks to be on the front right tyres. Perhaps either stamping on the brakes or a little bit too much front brake bias causing that. It's not slowing him down much though. Managed to keep the car on the track this time around. Looks as though Bobby Dazzler's going to get a good slipstream from 6th place of Uniclark. Let's see whether or not he can make this happen as all drivers move to the inside of the first chicane. I was going to say most drivers opt for the middle so that they can get the inside of the second part of that turn. Bobby Dazzler looked to have a great drive. He just had to take evasive action there as Uniclark got a little bit sloppy. So that's going to allow its PT to move a little bit further out. This is the currently hot contested battle. However, let's look a little bit further down the field. We'll go trackside. And we'll keep an eye out on the sectors. Let's have a look at this companions battle between Lionsfoot and Evan. Lionsfoot now, the mouse in this cat and mouse battle, sprinting away as Evan tries to make up that difference. So that guitar dude now coming into the pit. That is all of our drivers completing their mandatory pit stop. All the cars on track are due to complete this race in their current setup. Let's have a look where they come out. So Demobi now crossing the start finish line. That guitar dude still in his pit stop, I think. Yep, he's just getting away from there. So Stealth Sheep is in third. Looks as though Lightblade's also going to pass him. It's whether or not he's going to lose a position to its PT. So it looks as though he is, and Uniclark and Bobby Dazzler. So that guitar dude falls back into 7th place from that pit stop. He just couldn't find the gap. We are on lap 13 of 16. But let's have a look at this battle for 4th place. Nothing in it between its PT, Uniclark and Bobby Dazzler as we've seen for many a lap. Looks as though that guitar dude is not too far away from this mix as well. Demobi though setting the fastest lap of the race I think last time round with a 150.999. Remember folks, that could be significant with the bonus point on offer by the end of this race. If Demobi finishes in 1st place, he will get the championship title unless there's any race director penalties or subject to any stewards inquiries following the end of the race. We have followed Demobi pretty much throughout both of these sessions though. I've not seen him in any altercations, so I'm not expecting any stewards inquiries to come into us and the rest of the stewards team by the end of this one. So the battle for 2nd, Stealth Sheep's got around about 4 seconds to make up before he catches Demobi, with around about 2¼ seconds back to Lightblade in 3rd place. Big significant mark with that one as Stealth Sheep and Lightblade battle it out for 2nd place in the championship. Should Demobi have a huge accident and find himself rolling back to the further down the field, Stealth Sheep and Lightblade will be duking it out for the championship title. However, Demobi onto lap 14 of 16 gets ever closer. The trophy is in sight for our German driver. He, of course, runs the Hot Lap Challenge. He is, of course, as well the current Season 1 Rubbins Racing Touring Car Championship holder. Valued member of the staff team. All-round rapid driver. Let's see whether or not he can clinch this one. He's pulling away gap after gap as the laps progress on Stealth Sheep. Stealth Sheep looks to be losing time, but Lightblade looks to be losing even more. Around about 3 seconds difference that last time out. We are still sticking with the battle for 4th place. At the moment though, these 3 drivers have been battling it out through more than half of the race. We've got our race leader just going round the toe, which is the final hairpin of the circuit. 3 more corners to go from him, and then he'll be entering the penultimate lap on this one. We'll jump on over to Demobi, and let's jump into his cockpit and see what he's doing in that car. Coming up to the final 2 corners, so the final 3 corners of this Watkins Glen GP circuit. We'll keep an eye out on the rest of the action. And I'm going to put your information in my capable hands, ladies and gents, as I knock off the interface. Let's give this man what he deserves as he leads on the second to last lap. There's no change at the moment between its PT, Uniclark and Bobby Dazzler. Looks as though its PT has managed to gain about a second, but Bobby Dazzler is currently challenging the 5th place of Uniclark. Lightblade around about 2 seconds away from the 2nd place of Stealth Sheep, but we are of course in and on board with Demobi. Our top 6 drivers setting a 151 that last lap around, so all of them managing to find a lot of pace in this second to last lap. We are on lap 15 of 16, and then that will be our season done with. At the moment, as things stand, you are currently on board with our provisional touring car champion for the 2nd time back to back. Knock the interface on so that you can continue to follow the action alongside, but there has been no change. It's currently Demobi in 1st with Stealth Sheep in 2nd, Lightblade in 3rd, its PT still maintaining the better of Uniclark in 5th place. Then that Qatardo looks to have lost a little bit of pace from the challenge for 5th to Uniclark. Bobby Dazzler is in 7th place with Thorsten Smith in 8th. An unfortunate evening for Thorsten Smith. And then 9th is Evan IRL. Our Irish driver getting the better of the Welshman again in that friendly battle. Then we've got Lecky in 11th place. So as we come around the final bend, this will be the final lap of the final race of the season for the touring cars. Looks as though it's Demobi's to lose, as he's got a 6.6 second gap to 2nd place. Looks as though Stealth Sheep and Lightblade duking it out now for the battle for bragging rights on that podium. So we will continue to watch our current race leader around the track for this final lap. It's PT still maintaining that distance away from Uniclark, with that guitar dude in 6th, Bobby Dazzler still in 7th. No big changes there then. Off my records as well, Demobi has just set the fastest lap that last time around. He did put a 150, I think it was 977 in previously. He's now got a 150 967. I'm sure we'll see a big push from Lightblade, as we know he can pull a fast lap out the bag. Doesn't look as though he's got the quickest sector 1 though. In fact, none of these drivers, as the track conditions have progressed through this session. But Demobi now with only less than half a track to go. He enters the final section of this one. It looks as though we've got a very slow driver potentially entering the pits. It's Lecky, who looks as though he's going to retire for the session. But coming around the final bend, you are now watching our back-to-back Rubbins Racing Touring Car champion. It is Demobi. Fantastic driving from him all night long. We've seen some incredible moves from him. Bringing up the rear, it's Stealth Sheep in 2nd. Big credit where it's due, with Lightblade in 3rd, and It's PT, Uniclark and that guitar dude, closely followed by Bobby Dazzler. Looks as though Lightblade has got a serious penalty that's put him down into 7th place as these have progressed. So substantial penalty. Or it may not be that large, but that gap was just that small. We're currently on board with Lionsfoot, who's got the better of Evan. We'll have to see if there's any penalties to be applied at the end of this one, but these two duke it out all the way to the end. Fantastic driving from them two all season long, but it looks as though Lionsfoot gets the bragging rights for this one. Let's have a look at our final championship finishes in this feature race. So Demobi takes the lead, he takes the championship. That is his second one of this year. And then Stealth Sheep in second. It looks as though It's PT managed to make it up into third place with that Qatar dude in fourth, Uniclark in fifth. Sixth place goes to Bobby Dazzler, and there we go. We see a 7-second time penalty applied to Lightblade, which put him down into seventh place. Where it looks as though Stealth Sheep is going to finish the championship in second place. Lightblade is going to be in third place for the championship, but please wait for those standings to be posted. Thorsten Smith in ninth. It's unfortunate for him, but Evan getting a 7-second penalty altogether. So bragging rights go out to the Welshman in eighth in that battle between the two friends. Lecky ended up finishing up in the pits. He classifies as 11th for the end of this one. Remember, ladies and gents, we will have more racing to bring you in our Thursday Night Lights Championship. I beg your pardon, it's not a championship, in our Thursday Night Lights feature race. That will be the last one of the season as well. In fact, all of our races finishing up for this season this week. Friday nights we will have our Ginetta GT5 Championship finale, and then on Sunday it's going to be the hotly contested GT3 Championship. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done already and you're watching this either live or on the replay. Let us know your comments on how you've enjoyed the championship so far and how you enjoyed that action. And of course, if you are a Project Cars 2 driver on the PS4 and you fancy joining this great community, head on over to www.rubbinsracing.co.uk and hit the sign up join section, and you can be greeted by a member of our staff and be part of the action as we enter Season 3 in a few weeks' time. Until then, ladies and gents, stay safe. I've been Murphy, your host for the evening. It's been a pleasure bringing you this bumper-to-bumper action, and we'll see you again very shortly. Thank you.